everybody, and welcome to Office Hours. So first of all, let me know if you can hear me or if there's any problems hearing me. Just go ahead and write in, but everything should be working as it should. So I got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's new and what's going on first, and then I'm going to jump into answering your questions. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and start getting them ready. If you're joining me on Zoom, you can go ahead and chat in your questions now. And then if you're joining me on Facebook or YouTube, you can go ahead and chat in your questions as well. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, let's talk about what's new. First of all, the Premier membership was released a little over a month ago. And with my Premier membership, it allows students to be able to access all of the material that I've done, me and all of my teachers as well. So that means you get full access to the Jazz Edge site, Total Musician, Summer Piano Jam, Jazz Christmas Music, Jazz Piano Lessons. All of my sites are all under one Premier membership. I also released my Jazz Edge practice curriculum. Now the Jazz Edge practice curriculum is only for Premier members, and it's likely going to stay only for Premier members because it really takes more work, right? So it's not something that's automated. This is where I'm literally creating a practice curriculum, a practice sheet for each student individually in my Premier program. And my Premier students can tell you that we've been doing Premier coaching, and every student has their own individual sheet to work off of. This is what it looks like. So in the Premier area, you'll see that you have your focus sheet here, and you'll notice that it gives you exactly what it is that you need to practice. Now this is just the foundational focus. There's also a fundational. I have notes, there's repertoire, and all of that stuff. So basically when you sit down and you go to the practice hub, you know exactly what it is that you need to be practicing. So that happened. I also added in my milestones for my Premier members as well. So with milestones, these are different technical challenges that they can submit a video and get feedback, and then either get a passing or redo grade. You can see here I added some notes, and you can see there's like a passing grade and a redo. Okay, so you said you could.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go ahead. Is the audio low for you?
I can barely hear you. In fact, everyone's having trouble hearing you.
All right, hold on one second. Let me take a look here and see. I wonder why that is. Check. All right, hold on. Is that any better, Joe? Oh, that's probably better, right? Excellent. Okay, great. Yeah, so I forgot to, I ended up muting myself. So I muted myself on my board and I forgot to unmute myself. So my apologies. So anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on with Premiere. I'll just back up just real briefly and just show you just real briefly, since you probably couldn't hear me all that well. Basically with Premiere, you're getting that Jazz Edge practice curriculum, and here's the practice curriculum. You could see there's 3 focuses. You know exactly what you need to practice. You can, establish where you're at, so you can kind of keep track of where you're at with your practice. You see that there are, percentages here that you can fill out and then decide where you're at. So you know exactly what you need to practice when you sit down. These are the milestones, and the milestones are different, you can think of them as levels of completion, right? So these are different technical and foundational tasks that Premier students can submit a video for. And you see in my example account here, you can see I'll send you notes and then also give you a pass or redo grade on this. All right, so moving on, the Total Musician classes. For those of you who might not know about the Total Musician or are not taking advantage of it or looking at it, I got some great teachers on the Total Musician. There's a bunch of courses on the Total Musician already by Anna Rizzo and Mike Marble, and they are both also doing monthly coaching as well, and students are really enjoying that being able to work with a vocalist, being able to work with a drummer. So even if you're not interested in singing, working with a vocalist, is a great way of understanding the way a vocalist thinks, right? So that if you're going to accompany a vocalist, you can ask her questions about what would you be looking for. Same thing with rhythm as well. You might not want to be a drummer, but hey, let's face it, everybody needs rhythm, and Mike's rhythm classes are great, and that's all part of the Total Musician. All right, so now let's move on to Summer Piano Jam. All right, so the Summer Piano Jam 2022 release. So now in Summer Piano Jam, there are 3 core levels. There's a beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. And what you'll notice is in these 3 core levels, you're going to learn all of this. So you're going to learn how to accompany yourself, different melodic, rhythmic, lick ideas, double stops and tremolos, chords and extended harmonies. Basically, in the first 3 levels, what we're focusing on is really making it so that you know what to do in the left hand, but you also know what to do in the right hand in terms of your accompaniment, but then also improvisation. It's very improvisation heavy. All right, so that's the first 3 core levels. There's also a special lesson on B.B. King's "The Thrill Is Gone." So you get to learn that song. You get to learn it with left hand bass line accompaniment, chordal accompaniment, the melody, improvisation, all of that stuff. Last year's release, I released the Blues Progression Matrix, and that is such a great lesson because what I did was I took the blues and I broke it up into sections, right? So 4 measure sections or 2 measure sections, and then gave you 4 different options for each of those sections that then you can mix together. So you can kind of start to see how you can move in between these different options to create your own special arrangement, right? So that's a really cool thing. Now, this year, it's really special. You're going to have an opportunity to play live with a bass player. Now, before I go on, don't freak out, don't worry. If you're not interested in playing live, you're worried about playing live, it's not that scary. So let me just explain to you how the whole program works. Right, so the first thing that you're going to do to join in on this session is you're going to join the Zoom session. Now, what I should tell you is that later on this week, so Friday of this week, I'm going to be releasing this Swingin' Shepherd Blues lesson. And that Swingin' Shepherd Blues is basically this tune. All right, I'm going to go slower, though. It's probably going to be about this speed. So we're going to be working on that tune. I'm going to show you a simplified arrangement using shells so that you could get it down quickly. But then we're also going to do the rootless chord voicings in preparation for working with the bass player, Brian. All right, so anyway, then a week after I release the recorded lesson, okay, so this Friday, okay, is going to be the recorded lesson. That's going to be, what is that, the 15th? The 15th I'll be releasing the recorded lesson. On the 23rd, which is a little over a week, right, so that's going to be the following Saturday, we're going to have a live session right here. I'm going to have Brian in here. I'm going to be on the session as well. And the main idea of the session is going to be that you're going to be able to play this arrangement along with Brian. All right, we're going to go through it several different times. He is also going to be here to answer your questions as well. So it's going to be a really, really fun session. So to join in on that session, you're a member of Summer Piano Jam or you upgrade for the 2022 release, and then you join in on the session, right? So that's the first step, join in on the session. The next thing is you're going to mute your audio, just like you're all muting your audio right now. Then we're going to count off the tune, right? We're going to count off the song, and then you're going to have Brian on your screen, and then you're going to be able to play Swingin' Shepherd Blues along with Brian. So you play along with the bass player. Now, you're playing along with the bass player. Nobody else can hear you when you're playing along with the bass player. So this is basically what it's going to look like. You're all going to be muted. So we're not going to hear you and nobody else will hear you. But you'll be able to hear us and the bass, okay? So maybe the first time I'll go through and I'll play it along with you. We'll do it nice and slow, just so that you could kind of play along with, with the two of us. But then I'm going to step back and I'm going to let Brian just play by himself, and you're going to play along with Brian. You're going to be able to see what it's going to sound like to play along with a drum track along with bass, but then also bass by itself. It's going to be a great way of you being able to like kind of work through time and kind of feeling that time, especially when you don't have that metronomic click of the metronome or a drum track, right? So basically you could think of it as one to many. So if Brian was on right now, he'd be playing, you all would hear him on your side, and then you could play along with him. Now, if you can't make the session live or you want to be able to play along with him again later, I'm also going to record a special video just of Brian playing these backing tracks. So you could think of it like a video play along. You're going to be able to see Brian and you're going to be able to hear Brian. You're going to be able to put that on the screen and you're going to be able to play along with. Now the beauty is this is going to be a B-flat blues. So you could do swing and shepherd blues, or you could just simply sit down and improvise over a B-flat blues. Super popular key for the blues. So a great key to learn the blues in. This is also great because let's say you're going to have a party or something, you're going to have friends over. Well, now you could literally put Brian up on a tablet or on a television screen, and he's just going to 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then he's going to be playing his bass line, and you play along with. I'm going to make it so the video is a nice edited video, so you're not going to have a lot of stuff in the front and the back. It's just going to start, fade in, Brian's going to be there, it's going to fade out. So this would be a great way if you wanted to entertain family and friends in the comfort of your own home. You could play along with Brian that way. Now, what's great about this, and what I'm really excited about with this format, is that this is going to allow you to be able to play with another musician in the absolute most safe environment possible, right? Nobody's going to hear you if you make a mistake. You could stop in the middle of playing and nobody is going to know. And then since you're going to have the recording and the video for later use, well, then you can just keep playing with this until you get it down, until you get it down, until you get it down, right? We'll go through some different tempos as well, tempi, all right? So you can try it really slow or a little bit faster, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, now the 2022 material is also going to teach you, like I said, a new song, the Swing and Shepherd Blues. We're going to do licks. I'm going to show you some licks as well that you can perform over the song. And these licks are great because you could use them, over a B-flat blues or even jazz tunes. We're going to go through the rootless chords, okay? And like I said, I'm also going to give you the shells as well. And really, like I said, you're going to gain confidence and learn how to work with another musician, and you're going to be able to do this in a really safe environment, and then have the recording so you can practice this on your own schedule. There's also going to be a live showcase at the end of August, just like we did last year. And basically how the showcase works, all of this is optional, right? So you don't have to participate in the showcase, but if you want to, you just submit a video. So you have basically from now until the end of August to create a video, submit that video for the showcase, and then you can put your best foot forward and put out your best performance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all those videos, put them all together, going to have your name, going to have the video, move on to the next person. We're going to play that whole thing on August 30th. All right, I'm pretty sure it's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so the sale. So the retail price of Summer Piano Jam right now is $2.99. The price has gone up for the to take account for the 2022 material that's going to be released this week and next week. If you're a new student, you can get $100 off. If you are a returning student, you can upgrade for $25. That's 50% off the typical $50 upgrade. Again, the way Summer Piano Jam works, it is a lifetime membership. I'm using my air quotes here because the lifetime membership gives you access to everything from now back, okay? So basically that means if you purchase it this year, you will get access to all of the 2022 material as well as the 2021 material and all of the material that's already in the library, right? If you purchase it next year, right, then you'll get access to that year's material and then everything in the back, right? So if you purchase this year, as a new student for $199, $100 off. Like I said, you get all of this year's material and then all of the previous year's material. Next year, in 2023, I'm going to run basically the same promotion. The difference, though, is the price of the site is going to be going up, right? Because every year that I add new material, the price of the site goes up because this is a lifetime membership. So if you don't purchase it this year and you wait till next year, well, then you're going to end up paying a little bit more because the price will be a little bit higher next year. All right, so it's just full disclosure for you. All right, so like I said, if you're a current student, you can upgrade for $25. If you're a new student, you can lock in right now for $199. If you purchase this year, come next year, you would be a current student. So then if you wanted the 2023 material, then you could go ahead and upgrade and get that 23 material. But that is optional, right? So I already have a lot of students who've purchased Summer Piano Jam in the past. If they're not interested in playing with the bass player or in this year's material, well, then they might not upgrade. Honestly, if you're a member of Summer Piano Jam, I would upgrade because this is a great opportunity to work with a live bass player and to have that play along track. It's I mean, I think all of you understand. It's definitely worth it. All right, so to upgrade, you could just log right into Summer Piano Jam. You'll see a button right up at the top there where you can upgrade for $25. And then the sale ends next Friday, July 22nd. That's the day before we go live with Brian. Okay, if you want to take advantage of the sale, just go back to summerpianojam.com. And my last thing I want to say about the Summer Piano Jam sale is this. If you get to the page and you do not see the sale price, please do not order, right? Write into us because there was probably an issue with the promo code or something like that, right? So don't buy it if you don't see the sale price reflected. You should see it as $199 or $25 if you're doing the upgrade. All right, so let's move on to office hours. Your questions now. All right, so let's see. I'm going to start here on Zoom, and then I'm going to move over. If anyone has any questions on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and write them in now. Joseph said, hey, Willie, a few months ago, Paul was showing us how to add harmony to a single note melody on the piano. I was wondering if there's any difference to the terms harmony and close harmony as often talked about in singing and how to show this on the keyboard. Yeah, so close harmony, like, so when you're dealing with harmony, like, you know, if I take My Romance here, you know, so like I might harmonize this, and this is what I would consider to be like kind of close harmony. This is my B flat 7 chord, right? So here it's very close, right? I'm thinking there would be a bass player, so I'm just gonna do this with my left hand, right? Whereas open harmony is going to mean that the notes in between, the notes are going to have more space between them. So like something like that would be more open sounding harmony, right? So you have close, open. A lot of times with that open harmony, you might find chordals like that. Okay, so you see how I'm utilizing a chordal here on the B flat major 7th chord. You could also do stuff like this. Like kind of like closed voicings like this. See how I'm taking that B flat major 7th? So voicing a major 7th chord, and I just double the melody down here. There's C minor, back to B flat major 7th. I could open up this harmony as well by dropping the second note down. So you see how I took this harmony of my B flat major 7th chord to C minor. I'll go to B flat major like this, right? So B flat major, C minor, B flat major. The melody note is D, E flat, F. And then all I'm doing is taking the second note down and dropping it down an octave. So I get, that gets a very nice more open sound using drop 2, right? So you can kind of dial in how close you want the sound versus how open you want the sound, all right? You know, if you do something like this, you can see it's very open, right? Or if you did like, I can kind of mix and blend between the close and the more open to vary up my sound and make my arrangement sound a little bit more interesting. Jerry, how do we learn whether we passed a milestone after we submit it? How do you communicate that to us? You will receive an email. It usually takes me a few days, and last week I was on vacation, so I didn't review any of the milestone video submissions, but I will be going through that this week. I'll review them, and then you will get an email in which it will say whether or not you passed or failed, all right? And then if I go back up here for a second, let me just show you. You can see here as well, I know it's a little bit hard to see, but right over here, this says redo, and this says pass. You also see that that's orange, right? That button, it says watch, where you can watch your video that you submitted, or it's just a blue button that says submit, right? So if it says redo and submit, that means that you need to resubmit it. Most of the time, in fact, almost all the time, if there's a redo, I am always going to add a note for you. So here in my test account, I said, be sure to use the grab technique in the right hand, right? So I'm going to tell you what it was that you did wrong if I want you to redo it. Now, what I will do is sometimes I will pass a student if they did pretty much everything right, like 95% right, but maybe the fingering was wrong on one scale. So here, this is a pass, but I'll still write a note, right? So like one of my students recently did all 12 major scales, and then played the F major scale like in time, but the fingering in the left hand wasn't correct, right? So I told them just to make sure that they fix that fingering in the left hand, right? So you will be able to, you'll get an email saying that your milestone was graded, but then you could also check at any time by logging into your practice hub and just clicking on milestones, and then you should see right here. If the grade says TBA, to be announced, then that means that it's, waiting to be graded. All right, let's see. And Jerry, I watched a tutorial on how to submit via YouTube. Very helpful. Recorded my playing on iPad, no clipboard on iPad. How do I get it from my iPad to send you the link? There is a clipboard on the iPad, right? So there is a copy and paste functionality on the iPad. You usually have to sometimes kind of like click it. If it's a link, you probably have to click and hold down to be able to copy and paste. That's where, you can go to the Apple website or go to an Apple store. They can show you how to copy and paste on the iPad. But if you do a YouTube search or Google search for copy paste on iPad, you'll come up with a ton of different, tutorials that'll explain you how to do it. The other way of doing it is you could just simply go to YouTube on your desktop, right, and then copy and paste it that way. And remember, what you want to do is go to your video on YouTube, go down to where it says share, click on share, and then there'll be a link right there, and there's a copy button. Just go ahead and click on that copy button, and you'll be good to go. Miyuki, about blues progressions, is there any site that I could see blues progressions in all keys? I don't have blues progressions in all keys, but probably the easiest way of doing that, of being able to see the progression in all keys, is to simply download the iReal Pro tracks. So here, I have like Swingin' Shepherd Blues here. Let me just go ahead and move this up here. All right, so here's Swingin' Shepherd Blues, key of B flat, right? So then I could just go and I can move the key, right? And if I want to move it in the G flat, I could just go ahead and change the key very easily and very quickly right in iReal Pro. I would say that that's probably going to be your quickest and easiest way of being able to quickly be able to move that progression into other keys. The other thing you could do is, if you want the challenge, try transposing it on your own before you use the iReal Pro transpose function, and then check and see if you're right. Okay, so that's another option for you. Let's see. So hello, Joe and Ammon and MH on YouTube. If you guys have any questions, if anyone has any questions on YouTube or Facebook, if you're joining me live there, go ahead and write in. I go as long as there are questions. If there are no more questions, well, then we end our session. All right. So if anyone else has questions, go ahead and let me know. All right, Anime. Block chords. Okay, I'll wait for the question. And while I wait for that question, I wanted to share a site with you guys that I found, which I think is pretty neat, which I'm going to share with you right now. When I find these resources, I like to try and share a resource when I can. All right, so this site is therealbook.info. Right, so the real book, you can kind of see it right up here, right? Therealbook.info. See that? So therealbook.info. And what's cool is if you're looking for a tune, so let's say Autumn, okay? Yeah, Autumn Leaves. Click on this. And now there's Autumn Leaves, okay? Video unavailable. And then you can go ahead and download it and whatnot, right? So something to check out, right? Therealbook.info. If you don't have a real book, I would go here and you could grab a lot of these songs. It is not my site. All right, so if you have any issues with the site, you need to contact the site owner. I have zero to do with this site. I just happened to stumble upon it yesterday. All right, so I don't even know who did the site. Right, so but you can check it out, therealbook.info. Block chords. Ammon asked, block chords. Is it a succession of diminished and sixth? Not quite sure what you mean by that question. Block chords are basically your basic seventh chords, right? So if we're always in the key of C, so let's move to a different key. Let's take the key of F. All right, so F major. There's my F major triad right there. That's a triad, 3-note chord. A block chord is 4-note chord, right? So a lot of times we'll call that a block chord or a seventh chord. Now, some musicians might call like these different inversions and whatnot of this, like, block chords in inversions, that's fine. Might say even that, okay, that's a B flat major seventh. If I put a B flat under there, they might consider that a block chord as well, okay? Typically, the way I think of a block chord is it's your basic chords, right? It's not your rootless chords. It's still your basic chord that is the triad with the seventh added in. So there's F major seventh block chord, F dominant seventh, F minor seventh. There's F diminished, okay? And there's all the inversions of that F diminished chord, which also happens to be F diminished, A flat diminished, B diminished, and D diminished, okay? All right, so that's your block chords. Any other questions? Any other questions? This is your time to ask questions. So if you have a question, please feel free to ask it now. That's why we do office hours. So any music-related questions, go ahead and ask them now. Okay, to play the melody with block chords is not easy, I thought. No, like again, we use that My Romance lesson a lot, all right, for these beginning standards. So if I do that with block chords, right? So there it is with block chords. Nothing wrong with playing it with block chords, but typically block chords don't sound very jazzy. A lot of times we would instead do it. lot of times we'll do stuff like that in which we're utilizing shells, filling in other notes below the melody, other chord tones, other tensions, stuff like that, right? So, but there's nothing wrong with starting with your block chords first. And I also suggest that you work through your shells. All of this is in the My Romance lesson, by the way, which is found at the main Jazz Edge site. So we start with shells. Right, then we can start to fill in notes underneath those shells, like adding in the third, then maybe adding in the ninth. Right, and you can hear, once you start adding in those shells, you add in some of the other notes below the melody, like the third and the ninth and some other tensions, it really starts to sound quite nice. Right? If you really take a look at jazz pianists and you look at transcriptions or arrangements, you're going to notice that those shells down there in the left hand are very common. You'll also notice that tenths are very common for jazz musicians. However, most students can't reach that tenth, and especially not a tenth like this on B flats, right? So in that case, that's where we just do the root 7 or the root 3 shell. It makes it a little bit easier for all students to be able to reach that kind of stretch for the chord voicing. So you could do root 5/10 or just root 10th like that. So So I could do the root 5/10 or root 10th, but again, like I said, most students can't reach that. So instead, I follow an approach with my lessons of keeping it within the octave, right? So if you're able to reach the 10th, then by all means, go ahead and grab for the 10th. But if you can't, you need to at least know how to play it with the 7th down there or the 3rd in the left hand. And then... and passing chords with 4th, that's it. Not sure what that means. All right, let me check over here. All right. No other questions on Zoom? Gil, go ahead. Why don't you unmute yourself? I can't hear you, Gil. I'm still having trouble hearing you. Joe, can you do me a favor and unmute yourself for me, since I was able to hear you before? Yeah, now I can't hear you either, which is probably...
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead, Gil.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, hold on a second. Echo.
Oh yeah, you know what? You might get an echo because... Well, let's try that. Right. See if that's any better.
Okay. I'm still getting an echo, but I'll just live with it. Anyway, I'm enjoying the total musician. I have a question though. Will you be doing any analyzation like you used to do? That was great. That was a real challenge for me to keep up with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I couldn't, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Just doing it on the analyzations of the songs.
So analysis of the song, and then now with that, do you also mean the reharm or just the analysis?
Well, both. I think you did the reharm along with the analysis at the same time.
Okay.
And it was great. It was a challenge.
Well, this is where I'm going to write myself a note right now. And yes, I'll put together a session for Total Musician for that. I'll put together an analysis and reharm workshop. Do me a favor, if you're on wherever you are, chat in and let me know yes. Just say yes if you're interested in that. An analysis and reharm lesson I'll pick, a standard or two, go through, analyze it, and then talk about some reharmonization options on there. If you're interested in that, just let me know a yes. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to shut off this Zoom thing here because you're probably going to be getting an echo. All right. So the echo should be gone now. All right, good. Okay, so I got enough people here that are interested that I'll put that together. And let me unmute this one more time. Anything else, Gil, or is that it?
No, that was it. That was something I've been missing for a long time. I tell you the truth, I've been working on some sheet music transcriptions, and what we did doing that, I found out I learned a lot because just doing the transcription, now I can see the chords, and the chords aren't written out. I can actually analyze and to some degree and figure out what the chords are.
Yeah.
Like I was working on a little classical piece, and there's no chords at the top of that, no chord symbols, and I was able to I'm able to analyze that, and I can actually do a little improv over it now.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, and that's exactly the same thing that I do when playing classical music. I will analyze what's going on so that then, because if you don't analyze it, then it's almost impossible to really create a good improvisation over it because you don't know what the foundation of it is. You don't know what the structure of it is. You need to know the structure of the song in order to really understand where you want to go improvisation-wise. So, yeah, I'll put that together for you, Gil. You got it. All right, let's see here. Jerry, on your step 2 in My Romance, there are 2 chords you play which don't sound right when I play them. One is a D7, which you show as a low D and a C. It sounded fine when I played the D in the bass and the C in the treble. The F minor 7 also didn't sound the same when I played it. What is the best way to communicate with you on this for clarity? Private lesson, coaching, other? All right, so yeah, so you have a few different options. So that's a great question. So let me first of all say that I remember asking this question of Fred Hirsch when I was studying with him in Manhattan a few years ago. Well, actually several years ago now. But anyway, and one thing that he said, which is a great point, is that depending on how you play a chord, it can make or break it, right? So like, right? So if I'm gonna, right? So I go down to that D7, depending on how hard I hit that chord, or, it might not sound great to my ears because of the way that I approached the technique, the articulation, the dynamic, the grab of that chord. I might have been too aggressive on it, or maybe even too weak. It just kind of got lost. So that's always one thing to take a look at is, ask yourself the question, am I hitting the chord well so that, it doesn't sound poor? Right? And if it sounds poor, then maybe what if I try playing a little bit softer, or if I try grabbing in on it a little bit more? Sometimes it could be the range as well, right? Sometimes in a lesson, I'll throw a chord in there, and even in performance, I might not do it down there, but for the lesson, it's like just to kind of keep it all, cohesive. The chord might be down there, but, in reality, I might decide to maybe do a root 3 instead. Okay. Now, the next question is, all right, so you're going through the lessons, right? You're going through Jazz Edge or whatever lessons. How do you get ongoing help? Well, there's a couple of different options. Number one is you can take a private lesson, right? So if you go to My Jazz Edge, you'll see when you log in there, there's a spot on the left-hand side in the menu there where you can book a private lesson with me or with any of the other Jazz Edge teachers, right? The other thing that you could do is if you are a Jazz Edge member or a member of one of the sites, you can join in on Jazz Edge coaching. Paul does the Jazz Edge coaching. Right now, the coaching is held every week. I don't know if it's going to be every week forever, but right now it's every week. So you can join in and ask Paul the question. Or if you're a Premier member, then you can get in and ask me the question in our Premier coaching, right? Which is also every week as well, right? So those are different options, different ways of being able to get ongoing help, to get feedback, and then to be able to also, make sure that you're on the right track. Let's see. I got a question here. 3 light secrets to play improvisation, please. All right. I'm going to give you 3 secrets. All right. Now, first of all, understand this. Anytime we're going to try and reduce improvisation down to 3 light secrets, right? I mean, we have to keep this all in reality, right? I mean, obviously, to learn improvisation, remember, improvisation is like a language. So if I want to learn Chinese, and if I say to somebody, just give me 3 secrets so that I know Chinese, you really think I'm going to know Chinese after 3 secrets? Of course not, right? It's a difficult language to learn. It would take me years to be able to learn it and to be able to articulate it and perform it, right? Same thing with improvisation at the piano or any other instrument. With that said, there are some secrets that I can give you. The first secret is momentum. You have to keep momentum going, right? So it doesn't matter as much what you play, it's about that momentum, right? So if I'm going to do the blues, like let's say I'm just going to take my blues here in B flat, since we're going to be going into B flat. Now, half of the notes there were bad, right? I didn't like them, okay? But I'm just keeping that forward momentum of those 8th notes. Whereas instead, if I do something like this, right, obviously, if I'm stopping like that and the momentum is gone, well, then everybody's going to know that. So one thing that I like to suggest to students is try practicing that chromatic scale just in 8th notes, all right? So and then the momentum is designed so that you got something playing until you're back on track, right? No? Right? At the very end, I can kind of do that and kind of get back on track with my improvisation. All right, so that's one tip, momentum. Second tip, it's all about rhythm, right? Improvisation is all about rhythm, right? So rhythm is extremely important, and rhythm kind of combines along with that momentum, right? Meaning that you have to have good rhythm. You should be playing along with play-along tracks. You should be playing along with a metronome. You should get into rhythm and drumming and all of that. Like the more that you can learn and get within that rhythm vibe, the better. That's one of the great things about Total Musician and having Mike Marble there. I'm not a drummer. He is. You can go and you could kind of just dive into like drummer rhythm, right? And really be focusing on that. Now, the smart student understands that, oh, okay, obviously rhythm is in everything in music. So even though I'm not a drummer, I still have a lot that I can learn from someone like Mike. I remember when I was in high school, my rhythm was terrible. And since my rhythm was terrible, my music reading was also terrible as well. So kind of think about that. A friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, she's a drummer, right? And she sat down with me and all we did was rhythm. So she wasn't a piano player. She didn't play piano. She didn't play piano at all, right? So she didn't know how to play piano, but she knew rhythm. And I focused on rhythm for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it really paid off. Not only in my improvisation, but my music reading, boop, went up as well. I'm going to give you the third tip as well. You may not like this one. Don't be cheap, all right? You need to invest in yourself. So that means either study with me or study with somebody else, but study, right? sure, you can go to YouTube, you can take a look at my free videos and everyone else's free videos, but I'm going to be honest with you, and I tell you this because I get it from students. They write in, they tell me, and I've been hearing this for years. I don't know what to do. I don't know what direction to go in. You're not going to get that in a YouTube video, all right? No one is going to give you, start here, and then 10 years down the road, this is where you should be, and I'm going to give you every step of the way. It just doesn't work like that. So what you really need is you need structure. If you don't have structure, when it comes to improvisation, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to really kind of dig in. Now, if you're looking for structure in improvisation, the best place to start is the Confident Improviser. That's the program that I have at my Jazz Edge site. Confident Improviser program is fantastic for improvisation. There's something like 37, 38 lessons on there right now, and there are more that will be, I'll be recording more starting this fall, all right? So once the summer's over, we're gonna be doing more Confident Improviser lessons. There'll be new lessons added to that. But right now, with the 37, 38 lessons, there is a ton of material. There's like hours and hours and hours of material already on the Confident Improviser. And it starts very simple. Very simple, right? So the idea with the Confident Improviser is to make you a more confident improviser. And not just in jazz, but we also talk about other styles of music as well, like blues, rock, pop, that kind of stuff also. So if you're looking for a good structured improvisation program, I would recommend the Confident Improviser found at Jazz Edge. Jerry, how often will you be doing office hours? Well, during the summer, it's going to be a little bit touch and go because, well, it's the summer and, you know, we have a bunch of trips that we're doing with our kids this year. Our kids are at that age now in which they're just finishing up middle school, going into high school, or they also have one more year of middle school, 2 of them, and then 2 of them are going to be in high school. So we're really finding that this is like the year in which we really want to like, you know, do the family vacation kind of stuff. So I'm going to be going away again in August, at the end of August. But so you're going to notice that it's just going to be a little bit spotty over the summer. But then my plan is to get into a more of a routine, especially once we get into the fall. I will be honest with you as well. It also depends on all of you, right? If nobody has questions, then there's really no sense in me getting on to office hours. But when people are asking questions, then it lets me know that, oh, okay, then, you know, people are interested in me answering their questions, all right? So, so the important thing is if you want office hours to continue, when we get on live, ask a question, right? Because then that way I know that these office hours have meaning, right? By the way, if you're looking for the recording of office hours, it will be in My Jazz Edge. If for any reason you don't have a My Jazz Edge account, just go to myjazzedge.com. You can register for a free account, and then you can get the replays for office hours in there as well, okay? All right, so with that said, any last questions? Any last questions? Going once? Going twice? All right, so I just want to remind you, if any of you are interested in the sale for Summer Piano Jam, like I said, that is going to be ending next Friday, the 22nd of July, so be sure to take advantage of it. Now, if you already have purchased Summer Piano Jam, do not order at the main site. Instead, log into Summer Piano Jam. You'll see a button right up at the top in which you can upgrade for $25, right? If you have questions about what's going to be happening with the bass player, the live sessions, anything like that, feel free to write in, okay? support@jazzedge.com is the email address. Yeah, I'm really excited about this session with Brian. I think it's going to be a super amount of fun. And then I also want to remind you, if you're a Premier member, you do not have to upgrade to anything. Premier members get access to everything, so you don't have to upgrade if you are a Premier member. All right, so with that said, thank you all very much for joining me. I will put this recording into the forum right now, and I will see all of you in our next live session. All right, take care.